Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Game Changer. I'm Mariam Zia. Pakistan and Belgium relations are marked by mutual respect and both countries are collaborating in various fields. And this year also marked 75 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between Pakistan and Belgium. Although both countries are collaborating in a number of fields, but trade and economic relations are significant for both the countries. And of course, Belgium remains important country for Pakistan as far as trade and economics is concerned, as member of European Union as well. So in first segment of the program, we will be talking about the fascinating relation between these two countries that transcends boundaries and bonds. In the second segment of the program, we will be talking about Pakistan's continued engagement with ASEAN. Of course, Pakistan's Vision East Asia policy is concerned about looking towards expanding its bilateral as well as multilateral ties with various countries. And of course, in the second segment of the program, we will be talking about the recent engagement of Pakistan with ASEAN member states. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Mr. Shahryar Khan, who is expert international affairs. Welcome to the program. We are also joined by Dr. Zia Shamsi, who is expert international affairs. Welcome to the program. We are joined online by Dr. Hassan Javed, who is economist and expert international affairs. Welcome to the program. Dr. Hassan Javed, let me start with you. When we talk about Pakistan's relationship with Belgium, of course, both countries are collaborating in a number of fields, and we will be talking about all these sectors in the program, but I want to start with the recent political engagements between the two countries. Of course, we know that bilateral talks have been going on between both the countries. How do you overview these recent developments in strengthening the bilateral ties between the both countries?
See, so this year marks the 75th anniversary of establishment of the diplomatic relationship between the Pakistan and Belgium. So Pakistan and Belgium enjoy a friendly and cooperative relationship based on the common interest and shared value of democracy, pluralism, and trust. So the bilateral diplomatic relationship between Pakistan and Belgium were established soon after the Pakistan independence in 1948, when the Belgium considered Pakistan an important country in the region and valued its effort for the peace and stability. So both countries had a strong trade and economic relation in the area of textile, pharmaceutical product, machinery, medical equipment, iron, steel, and chemical, although the number is low if I talk about in the economic number, but I'll talk about on this matter later. But if I talk about the culture diplomacy and the people-to-people contact, the culture diplomacy and the people-to-people contact have a crucial role in bringing the nations closer. So by sharing the culture, art, music, sport, two countries can build stronger and lasting relationship with each other. So if I talk about the opportunities, there are many things, because Belgium is the one of the best in the social work, education, and hospitality in hospitals. So with what we call it healthcare. So we explore the historical and current perspective of the relationship between the Belgium and Pakistan, and analyze the new domains of the cooperation and strengthening the bilateral ties. There are existing number of the areas in which the Belgium and Pakistan can jointly work to benefit mutually from, such as information technology, which is very much core of the Pakistan, and we want to invest much, and as we have the zero rating over there in the IT sector, so we have to perform well as much as we can. But our department for the information, Board of Information and Information, must be headed by the technocrat, which has the huge understanding of the information and technology, not by the person who is politically in, but do not have an idea of the information technology. So this is very much important, and I wanted to put at this point. Now, the science and the medical industry research.
Right, we will be talking about science and technology, but I want to talk about the history of diplomatic relations between the two countries, and specifically, we know that recently Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ms. Hina Rabbani Khar, also engaged with the Belgian delegations. So how do you see these recent developments for strengthening the diplomatic relations and also political engagements between the two countries?
See, in today's the globalized society, no single development or issue can leave us indifferent, and international cooperation has become the more crucial than ever. So, FPS represented in Belgium, several international organizations in different parts in the world taking proactive approach to the policy, and Ms. Hena Rabani Khar have pushed this up in a very different way, and she focused on a very important part, which is the peace and security, human rights, and the promotion of the rule of law. So this is very much important, and I mean, completely endorsed this point over there, and specifically to the Belgium, but in ASEAN matter, he is also very much active in this area. So she talked about the trade and economy. So the most important sector of the Belgium, she talked on the public administration, defense, education, human health and social work active, which is about the 22.0%, and a wholesale and retail trade, transportation, accommodation, food service industry, which is about the 16.4%, and intra-EU trade accounts for 65% Belgium exports, and Germany is 17%. So in that way, so our consulate are the I mean, which is very much improvable side. We are in the millions, but we have to cross the billion of the dollar I mean, engagements, and so for that reason we have to have the G2G relationship with the Belgium, and of course quite about this time for another 5 years we have to work on the short term, and then about the long term. If we go directly to the business to business context, it would not be easy. So that's why our government is working and focusing on the G2G. I am not in the favor of G2G, but for the third world country, and we are just not the third world country, we are belongs now from the least developing country. So it is very bad at our part, but we have to lift up our whole scenario. So that's why we are, I mean, recently, I'm talking about the recent meeting with the Belgian delegate. So what Ms. Rabbani said, so Pakistan and Belgium have agreed to make a bilateral political consultation a regulation annual feature of the bilateral agreement. And the second important he says is understanding came as at the second session of the bilateral political consultation between Pakistan and Belgium, and which will be held in Islamabad recently. So the Pakistan delegation was led by Ambassador Muhammad Salim and Additional Secretary of the Europe, while Belgium delegation was led by Ambassador Jeroen Corman. So Director General Bilateral Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Belgium. So two sides reviewed the entire spectrum of the bilateral and set the agenda of the bilateral engagement and cooperation for the next year. And they also discussed the collaboration at the International Forum and important regional and global development. The very important part is the additional Foreign Secretary stressed the need of the continued high-level engagement and dialogue between the Pakistan and Belgium, which will be trickle-down effect to the secretary, to the additional secretary, or to the SO, and to move on to the B2B, business to business. Otherwise, we cannot drop the relationship out of it. So, if I talk about the economic relationship, so Belgium is the sixth largest European importer.
Dr. Sen, but let me talk to Dr. Shamsi. Dr. Shamsi, when we talk about Pakistan's relations with Belgium, of course, there is a history. This year we are celebrating 75 years of establishment of the diplomatic relations between the two countries. So tell us about some of the significant milestones when we talk about these bilateral relations between the two countries.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Marie. Actually, Belgium is a very important European country. It holds the EU headquarters on its geographical bounds. It holds NATO
headquarters, of course.
Brussels is a very historic place, and it holds a very, very important place and a very significant place within Europe. And though we have had a diplomatic relationship for the last 75 years, but unfortunately, it has not reached to a level where we should actually celebrate it. We should have done a lot more, because the Belgium is a highly developed country, politically very charged,
of course,
diplomatically very charged,
It was one of the founding members of European Union as well.
Yeah.
So being important part of European Union, why is that so, that the diplomatic relations, and as you're saying that the engagement has not been to that level?
In fact, this has been due to some negligence in the past, because at that time perhaps we did not realize the importance of the European Union and the country which holds the headquarter of the European Union and NATO. Okay? So, and secondly, Belgium has an aura of Renaissance, the era of industrial development, cultural development in Europe, and therefore is extremely important for the Europeans also.
Of course.
We need
to. Strategic location is also very important.
Absolutely. We need to have multi-directional, multi-dimensional relationship with the country like Belgium. It's not only on trade and commerce. It is political engagement required with them, cultural engagement required with them, because the people of Belgium, they are very fond of culture, history,
So there is a
cuisine.
lot of potential, Dr. Shamsi, but when we talk about Belgium as an important member of European Union, how do you think this impacted, that the membership of Belgium in the EU has impacted the political dynamics of bilateral relations between Pakistan and Belgium?
It actually drives. And Pakistan has realized the importance of that state, and that is why there are so many high-level delegations going to Belgium now. Within the space of these 2 to 3 years, there have been number of visits, number of agreements, number of MOUs signed, and Pakistan has realized that we need to have more engagement, more high-level engagement with the country like Belgium, which will give us an ultimate benefit and inroads into the European Union whenever needed.
Of course.
So the process has started. There is a realization that it needs to be sped up, and I think we are now heading in the right direction, although the trade relation still has a lot of scope.
We will be talking about trade and economic relations, but let's talk about, when we talk about Belgium, there is a lot of assistance, humanitarian assistance coming from Belgium. Can you tell us some of the significant projects and initiatives by Belgium government in Pakistan that impacted socio-economic development of Pakistan?
We can see the relationship between Pakistan and Belgium in two broad frames. So one, as Dr. Shamsi has stated, that Belgium, especially Brussels, is basically the hub of diplomacy. It's the hub of European politics, even global politics. When it comes to arts and culture, again, Brussels is like very important. Other than that, it's like the founding member of Eurozone, NATO, OECD, even the World Trade Organization. Brussels has always played a historical role in development of these multilateral institutions. In terms of like relations with Pakistan, because Pakistan gets the specific GSP plus status, and Belgium has always supported Pakistan in getting that status allows Pakistan to export a lot of its goods into the Eurozone, and those exports amount to around $7 billion every year. So that's a large amount. Other than that, we also have to keep in mind that Belgium is the 6th largest importer of Pakistani goods as well in the European Union. And the bilateral trade between Pakistan and Brussels goes to around 600 million. Other than that, like when it comes to, so this is like one of the frameworks in which Pakistan and Belgium's relationships can be viewed. The other is the political. So Belgium basically sees Pakistan as a very key player when it comes to providing peace and security in this region. Historically, Belgium and Pakistan's relationship has been viewed from a security prism. Belgium has played a very important role, especially being the very key member of the European Union and NATO in providing peace and stability in Afghanistan. So a lot of like bilateral discussions that take place between Pakistan and Belgium have been viewed from a security lens, especially when it comes to security in Afghanistan.
Of course, but now we're moving towards trade and economic ties as well. But let's talk about the development assistance programs that the Belgium government has, advocated for in Pakistan.
So there are like a lot of sectors in which Belgium bilaterally and through the
education remains a
education. It comes to agriculture. It comes of like technology. In terms of like trade development, development assistance. That's like already there. Again, most of the trade that happens between Pakistan and Belgium are in textile and other areas, but unfortunately, the exports that Pakistan generally does is more in terms of raw material. And that is like one area where we have been discussing historically in this program as well, that Pakistan needs to move from providing raw material to more value-added services and value-added products as well. So that is like one area where Belgium has always supported. That's where Belgium provides support in terms of technology and how to basically make high-end goods. So that is like one area where Pakistan
that is one important area. Dr. Sen, when we talk about bilateral relations, of course, trade relations remain significant and crucial for these bilateral relations. So how do you see that the bilateral trade between the two countries has evolved over the times, and what are some of the key areas or sectors on which there should be more focus on?
See, if we want to focus on the specific areas, so Belgium is the 6th largest European importer of Pakistan goods, and the bilateral trade between the two is approaching US 600 million, which is quite less. But yes, as Shariar pointing out, we have to elevate this in a different manner. So as I always talk about, the Ministry of Industry, Board of Investment and the Commerce must have to think about, and the import and export licensing must be gradually upgraded. So during the 2010 Pakistan flood, the Belgium provide worth 4.6 million of Pakistan, but in 2001, the Pakistan export about the 531 million to Belgium. So the main product that Pakistan export to Belgium were the house linen. It is about 178 million. So we have the huge, potential for the textile. The important product is house linen, which is very much demanded by them. So then is the rice. It is 82.1 million. So why not we work upon this, because we are producing a high yield of rice every year. So we have to work and focus on this area. Then is the knit socks and the hosiery. So 37.7 million. So we have to build and elevate and accelerate, and we do much, promising subsidies to that area of the textile, so that we can work on the net, because whole of the Europe need that much of the hosiery item from textile department. So during the last 22 years, the export of Pakistan to Belgium has increased an annualized rate of the 5.14 from 176 million in 1999 to 2001 is 531. So in 2021, Pakistan did not export any service to Belgium, which is quite very much alarming. Why
so what were the reasons? What were the challenges?
The other system, but
right. Yeah. What are the challenges when we talk about these economic ties and trade relations between the two countries? Of course, we know that FDI is an important aspect of these bilateral relations, because Belgium provides us a link to the European market as well.
See, as I told you, there are much loom and scrap. There is a lot much, preferences over there. They wanted to want us to export much textile product over there and rice product over there. But the hindrance is that export and import and export licensing. Most important thing is the export licensing. We need to take the quality assurance licensing, so that we can, rationalize our trade licensing and rationalize our product, so that we can import as much as can to the whole of the Europe. And as you know that the 10 of the $1 billion we exported to America as well. So Europe is a big market and we can export much. So in other scenario, the China is not producing that way to the Europe, so we can grab that market. Neither the Azerbaijan or the Turkey can do that. So why not us? So in that area, they are our rice are in demand, our textile is in demand, but it is in Indian. So we make the program. We have to establish a well-maintained framework, industrialized framework, and we have to develop the industrial zone with the greater subsidies. So to develop the special economic zone, whether it is from the Iran and the Saudi collaboration, whether it is from the other collaboration, whether it is the other collaboration with the textile department over there in Faisalabad. So we have the special economic zone. One of the economic zone is in the Faisalabad. So industrial zone can come there, and we can expand this industrial zone. We need to understand that we don't focus on the cannibalization, and more focus on those areas which are giving us the profit.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hussain Javed, for joining us in today's program. Dr. Shamsi, when we talk about Pakistan's relations with Belgium, of course, we know that Belgium is an important member of European Union. So how do you think that Pakistan can leverage its cooperation with Belgium to broaden its access into the European markets?
You know, we had to work very hard once we were negotiating the Pakistan and European Union free trade agreement. We had to do a lot of lobbying in Brussels. Brussels, there are certain cities which are actually the world capitals, like Brussels, Geneva, Vienna, New York. They are world capitals. They hold a say not only in politics but policy level decisions of regional and global politics. And that is why it was very important to have good relationship, good lobbying in Brussels. And Pakistan managed to do it, and we were able to. You know, it's a very diverse society. It's culturally very advanced. There are 3 languages spoken there: French, German, Dutch. People are very diverse, very friendly, and they are fascinated by culture. Why do Europeans get fascinated by India? Only because of the history, culture,
and rich culture, of course.
Culture, cuisine. We have all these things.
So there's a lot of potential, Mr. Shehjar, when we talk about Pakistan's relations with Belgium. How do you see that we can expand these trade and economic relations between the two countries, and specifically what are the sectors that we need to more focus on?
So, Mariam, before talking about the areas and sectors where we can work more deeply in cooperation with Brussels, first we have to see the kind of exports that Pakistan is doing, especially into the European Union. So that's mainly textiles, textile related products. Other than that, there are some pharmaceuticals, leather products, and some pharmaceutical instruments. The quality standard that is required to export finished goods into the European Union is very high. Pakistan is already competing with China, and then the ASEAN countries as well. We discussed it in previous programs as well. So the level of finished goods that is required to break into the European market is very high. So that is one area where European Union, especially when it comes to Belgium as well, is ready to provide support to Pakistani market in developing these finished goods that meet the criteria and standards of the European Union.
And what kind of support is that going to be? And specifically, I want you to ask, I want to talk about the agricultural innovation as well as science and technology, because these are the sectors where there is a lot of potential and there are a lot of lessons that Pakistan can learn from Belgium.
So the quality controls in the European Union are very high, even for when it comes to agricultural products. So it's not like we'll develop rice and it will be ready to be exported into the European Union. So there are certain criteria, certain quality standards that have to be met according to European standards. So those standards, that's one area where we can cooperate deeply with Brussels, in which they can support the Pakistani government as well as the Pakistani agriculture producer on getting the finished products to that level. So that is one area in terms of trade and commerce where Pakistan and Belgium need to cooperate. I think that area is a bit missing, but Belgium does provide that technical assistance. Other than that, there is another area in Pakistan's economy that Pakistan is currently focusing on, and that would be play a very vital role in developing Pakistan's economy, is the blue economy.
Of course.
So that's one area where we have been discussing this, and Belgium is that unique country in the European Union that has a lot of expertise, technical expertise when it comes to developing a sustainable blue economy.
So how does Pakistan perceive collaborating with Belgium specifically with regards to blue economy? So keeping in mind their expertise in maritime and all other sectors.
So that is one area that is totally missing in Pakistan's economic plan that has been developed. So in terms of like Southeast Asia, Pakistan has been discussing this with like various countries like Vietnam, like Thailand, and like, you know, Southeast Asian countries. But when it comes to European countries, Pakistan doesn't really have that relationship, and that needs to be built. That's like one area where Pakistan can cooperate, especially with.
And what sectors of blue economy should Pakistan be putting more focus on when we talk about getting access to Belgium market?
So definitely marine areas, fisheries. Mangroves is like one area that is like where Pakistan needs a lot of support. Mangrove development, conservation, especially a lot of focus in Pakistan is now on climate change and developing adaptability and resilience against climate related issues. So in that area, Europe overall plays a very key leadership role, and that is like one area where Pakistan
there's a lot of potential when we talk about Pakistan's ties with Belgium, and there's a lot of potential when we talk about trade and economic relations, and those areas needs to be explored. We will be talking more about it, but after a break. Welcome back. In this segment of the program, we will be talking about Pakistan's continued engagement. And as part of these engagements, Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, Dr. Asad Majid Khan, held meetings with ASEAN head of missions in Islamabad, and we will be talking about Pakistan's East Asia policy as well, and how Pakistan is continuing engagement bilaterally as well as in multilateral fora with these ASEAN member states. Mr. Shahyar, when we talk about Pakistan's engagement with ASEAN, how do you see the recent meetings of Foreign Secretary with ASEAN head of missions in Islamabad? And what were the objectives and what are the key outcomes of these meetings?
This whole like meeting with the ASEAN heads of mission that basically took place in Islamabad basically provides a commitment to Pakistan's Look East Asia policy. So it was in line with that. So this discussion was more in line with developing more linkages with the ASEAN economies. It was in line with like developing trade linkages, cultural linkages. And it's like in line with like a lot of like meetings that Pakistan has been taking place. Again, when it comes to ASEAN economies, it's like a very emerging as a very important regional bloc in terms of economic cooperation as well as a major trade.
So how do you see Pakistan's foreign policy as we are expanding our foreign policy in regional cooperation and the role of ASEAN member states in that?
Pakistan currently has a potential to play a very important connectivity hub for ASEAN countries. We have discussed this before, and when Pakistan expands its trade ties with ASEAN countries, Pakistan also provides ASEAN countries with access to Central Asia and to Eastern Europe as well through our strategic location. What we also have to like realize that the ASEAN countries, and especially like major economic hubs like Singapore, Vietnam, Cambodia, all of these countries are very like recently developing trade hubs for the region. One of their major trading partners is China, and the secondly is the US. So these countries have not only evolved from being agricultural economies, but they're also like moving very fastly towards tech and value added products. Especially in terms of tech, they're like providing electronic equipment, they're developing mobile phones, and then they're like developing this communications technology at a very fast pace. So they have like moved beyond as basic agricultural economies into like a very important technical equipment that they are like developing.
But how does Pakistan's engagement with ASEAN is contributing to enhancing the trade and investment opportunities for Pakistan and as well as for ASEAN member states?
A lot of like ASEAN countries, Pakistan has a market for exporting its textiles. Other than that, it's a market for exporting Pakistan's agricultural goods and produce. Fisheries is a big market, and it's like, that's like one area where Pakistan is already cooperating and exporting its fisheries products. Other than that, leather is like Pakistan's, one of the very old Pakistani exports. So there is a potential of like growing these markets further. And now that ASEAN countries are becoming a hub for developing these finished products for global brands, and those global brands are mainly US in nature, or they could be based in the European Union. Pakistan has a potential of being part of this global value chain.
Of course.
So right now Pakistan is lacking, as we previously discussed, in developing value-added products. But when Pakistan can become a part of the global value chain, that is like one area where Pakistan can start becoming part of this international economy.
Of course, Dr. Shamsi, when we talk about Pakistan's engagement with ASEAN, of course, we know that the geopolitical location of Pakistan is very important. How do you view that Pakistan can play as a bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia and enhance the regional connectivity?
In fact, ASEAN is a very interesting region, very important region, especially since Asia Pacific or look east vision got the momentum.
Of course.
And ASEAN, as Sharia rightly said, is a very diverse society. There are some very big countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, some very important countries like Singapore, Vietnam. And in spite of South China Sea issues, this is the most peaceful any association of any region. ASEAN is a very good example. I have noted it in my book, South Asia Needs Hybrid Peace, that ASEAN is the best example of any regional organization. Except Myanmar, which has issues, there is no other countries of the region which has any security conflict.
Right.
There are differences, but they resolve it through bilateral mechanisms.
And what is the importance of ASEAN as an organization in that?
That's what I am coming at. That it is the charter. It is
resolving the security conflict.
It is the charter that we will do. Their motto is cooperation, cooperative engagement, productive engagement.
Of course.
They do not look through the lens of conflict to resolve a conflict. They look through the lens of peaceful negotiations. They believe in peaceful coexistence, and it is perhaps due to continuity in the leadership of various countries. For example, Sri Lanka, Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, Malaysia, Mahathir Mohamad, and they have provided continue, and their vision was the peaceful coexistence in Southeast Asia. They are highly developed state, they are called as developing states, but Indonesia has a very fairly developed aviation industry.
Of course.
Malaysia has a fairly developed automobile industry. Thailand, Malaysia, Bali in Indonesia, they are hub of cultural and tourism industry.
There's a lot of potential when we talk about these ASEAN member states. So how do you see Pakistan's Vision East Asia policy, because this is aimed at strengthening Pakistan's relations with these member states and member states in the East Asian region as well. So how do you see that Pakistan can use its ties and its engagement with ASEAN to enhance bilateral relations with those member states?
The recent meetings have been in the same connection.
Right.
Look East vision, because we have a lot of potential. We still are dealing in negative trades as far as Malaysia, Indonesia is concerned, and we need to increase our exports to these countries.
Can you highlight some of the key areas in which Pakistan can engage with these ASEAN member states on bilateral as well as on multilateral fora?
I think we can provide a lot of manpower because they need it. They are expanding economies. We have a lot of potential to attract the tourism. Why? Because these the ASEAN states have a very diverse religious society, and we are home to Buddhism, and we can attract a lot of Buddhists from Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, And there are a lot of delegations which regularly visit our regions in the north, that is the religious tourism. Likewise, we have a very long coastline, and these states are archipelagos, okay, and they have fairly developed coastal areas into, they have developed coastal areas into very good tourist spots, like I mentioned Bali. So we can get their help to develop our areas.
So talking about this help that you are mentioning about, are there some successful joint ventures between Pakistan and these member states that have yielded positive outcomes?
I think the process has started. So far we were at the receiving end, but now we will start to export them our products also, and we are attracting investment. We have invited them to come and invest in the CPEC projects also. We have invited them to come and invest into energy projects also, IT projects also, automobile also, and in tourism sector also, because they are experts in attracting tourism and developing tourism. So these meetings of the Secretary Asad Majid Sahab are in the same direction to renew our effort and to cement the ties and to reassure them that we would like to keep gaining the momentum of our relationship through our Look East vision.
Of course, Look East vision is very important. Mr. Shahyar, how do you see some of the key areas and key priorities for Pakistan when we talk about Pakistan's engagement with ASEAN member states, not only in the bilateral front, but also on the multilateral fronts that we keep on talking about?
When it comes to these relationships that are developing with Pakistan and ASEAN, if we look at it from the geopolitical angle, I personally think like a lot of geopolitical dynamics in the world are currently changing. So as the world moves more towards a multipolar setup, connectivity will play a very important role. ASEAN countries have the largest trading partner of ASEAN is China. The US, when it comes to its new national security policy, is like more focused on Asia Pacific. As Dr. Shamsi basically said, that there is a conflict or there is a resistance in South China Sea, but that is being resolved through bilateral discussions and diplomacy. When it comes to global connectivities and looking at new emerging markets, Pakistan plays a very important role as a connectivity hub in this region, and that is what Pakistan should be capitalizing on a lot. How in terms of connectivity? Central Asian states are all landlocked. They have like massive oil and gas reserves. They have natural resources that they would want to expand. Right now, their largest partners are Russia and China. Central Asia through Pakistan gets access to Southeast Asia, and these ASEAN countries through Pakistan, Gwadar Port, CPEC network, as Dr. Shamsi has mentioned, gets access to Central Asia. Other than that, if you look at the whole conflict or war between Ukraine and Russia, Russia again we've like discussed in many programs is looking eastwards as well. So Russia is looking for new markets for its oil exports, gas exports, and again being Pakistan like the location and the connectivity hub that Pakistan envisions to be, it can also give access to ASEAN countries, and ASEAN countries get access to Middle East and Central Asia. So the whole geopolitical dynamics that are developing, Pakistan has a very key role to play, and that is like something where Pakistan can definitely capitalize on in the future.
There's a lot of potential when we talk about this. Thank you very much, Mr. Shahyar Khan, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Dr. Zia Shamsi, for joining us in today's program. We talked about Pakistan's growing ties with Belgium. There's a lot of potential when we talk about Pakistan's relations with Belgium. When we talk about trade and economic relations and blue economy, there's a lot of potential in which both countries are collaborating, and Belgium can play an important role for Pakistan for expanding its markets into the European region as well. In today's program, we also talked about Pakistan's continued engagement with ASEAN member states, not only in multilateral fora, but on bilateral fronts as well. So there is a lot of potential. There are a lot of commonalities when we talk about Pakistan's Vision East Asia policy that also aims to deepen Pakistan's ties with these states. When we talk about Pakistan's foreign policy that is continuously evolving, and we keep on talking about that in our programs. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.